Producer Dave.
It's a big crowd
Producer. It's a big crowd, and okay, I'm going to take I don't know, Dad off for a minute. All right. Hey, everybody. It is Wednesday night here on Live Long and Podcast, and that means we're talking Star Trek, the original series. In this case, we're talking A Taste of Armageddon from the first season, the 23rd episode. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV movie reviews here on Live Long and Podcast, and we got a great panel to talk about this. First off, my dad, Ted Mader. Oh, wait, take me off. See, I screwed it up. Take me off. Start video.
It's like we're running an American election here.
Yes, it's almost as sophisticated. Dad, how are you doing?
Good.
Also bringing in my brother Jeff. Jeff, talking about the episode A Taste of Armageddon.
I don't have a taste for Armageddon because it could be a real thing in real life in a couple days. Who knows?
Right. It could be a little close to reality. Also bringing in esteemed panelist Adam Woodward.
Hi, guys.
He clearly doesn't care about Armageddon.
My favorite.
Yes, and Jody Simpson here to talk about.
I like it.
Jody, do you have a taste for Armageddon?
Oh, I just can't stop with Armageddon. It's just so much.
It's so much greatness and so much Armageddon. So, hey, everybody, we're talking about this episode. Okay. I never know who to take off camera, so I'm just going to take that off for a second. I've never seen this episode before. Never. Definitely not. 100%. There's been a couple...
And yet you were living your life fine until then.
Until now. Which I'm thank you, I guess, who Dad you suggested this episode. So thanks for suggesting it. Let's go around the panel. Let's maybe start with Jeff. Jeff, what do you think of A Taste of Armageddon?
Well, there's a lot of complex things going on in the episode that I think at first I thought the episode was boring and I wasn't really getting into it, and then I really started to like when they kind of revealed like what the planet was and how they were going to have to navigate that. I thought like the episode was actually very strong. It was one of the strongest original series episodes I've watched on this Ted's Trek here on Live Long and Podcast. But nevertheless, I think that there's certain things that I noticed, like the character here of Tamula, who's like I think she's a Japanese, played by a Japanese actress, Miko Miyama.
Yeoman, I can't remember her name. Yeoman something.
Tamula. Yeah.
Yeoman Tamura.
Tamara.
It says Tamula on IMDb, so maybe it's wrong. But maybe that's her last name. But anyway, yeah, like I was like, oh, that's like it's not Uhura, which I thought was weird, and then made more sense because she needed to be with Scotty on the bridge for all of his scenes, which I thought Scotty really stood out in the episode too, as kind of like this like second in command almost, because Spock always has to be with Kirk, so you know.
Right. Scotty is the third in command. Let's go over to Adam next. Adam, what's your take on A Taste of Armageddon?
I don't remember seeing this episode before, so I mean, it was interesting. It was good. The concept of the war games, almost, that they were playing on the computer. And
you took my analogy, damn it!
Sorry,
that's all right.
But it was great. I mean, that part was really, really interesting. General Order 24. I don't remember this order.
No, this was not what I was familiar with either.
And I want to talk more about that. I guess we will a little bit, but it was entertaining. It was good. Let's get into it.
Yeah, and we'll break down all the plot and everything, but we're just taking the initial takes here. Let's go to Jody next. Jody, have you seen this before?
I have seen this episode before. I remember it being pretty complex back then. It's still complex, kind of with Jeff on this one. There's a lot of things going on. Overall, like it's a good episode, but the first half it's a drain. It gets way better in the second half. Like when about mid-range in the second act is when it starts getting pretty good. It's a great concept. I don't think it was executed that great, but it's definitely a cool concept. I think.
Do you know what, Jody? no matter what, just don't put down the screens. We can't put down the screens.
No, don't put
take
down the screens.
those screens.
Don't take down those
Don't take
screens.
those screens. No,
I will
can't
not
do it.
take down those screens.
You do that, and all of a sudden you have a taste for Armageddon.
I was like watching the episode. Like, what the hell's a screen?
Yeah, they hadn't really worked out what the language was. Screens versus shields. Shields would become the more commonly used.
Yeah, the most complex thing about this entire episode, I thought, was the outfit that blonde girl was wearing and how it stayed on.
Yes.
Like there had to have been some crazy glue or something at this point.
Yeah, a lot of glue and some curves.
Yeah, because that girl, that one whole side wasn't supported. I'm just saying, like at any second that could.
Yeah, well, let's go on that segue. Let's go over to Dad next, because Dad, I want to talk to you about this episode and maybe more specifically the outfits in these because you're usually you look at the makeups, you look at the outfits. What did you think of before we get into your take on the episode? These guys with these hats, these pointy hats that what are they called? The Armenians wear.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it the taste for Armenians?
Well, the planet's the Eminar. So they're Eminarians, I think.
7. Eminar 7. And so yeah, but they all, despite these hats, they also all wear kind of an overall, but it's more of a half-overall because it goes over one shoulder and attaches to one leg. That is their preferred male garb, and the female garb of this planet is somewhat similar, but it's more revealing to Jody's point. Over to you.
To who?
Yeah, I thought it was good costumes for a far and away place.
Okay, and what did you think of the episode?
Oh, the episode was great. Yeah, it was. It was kind of one of those. It's kind of an obscure Star Trek episode that they don't repeat it a lot, it seems, but it was good. It was made you think about how they would, the place looked like a really nice place. The planet. I mean, when they showed the planet from time to time, it was pretty modern and futuristic. I guess they didn't want it all blown up by having a war, so they did it this way. But seemed like a nice place.
Yeah, that was getting people to voluntarily kill themselves. They were like justifying it in their
That's
mind.
right.
They were justifying it to themselves that, oh, we'll just have people volunteer to die, and then that will avert war. And so I love the line where Spock was like, he's like, oh, okay, I understand. He goes, so you get it. He's like, so you approve? He's like, no, I do not approve. He's like,
I do not approve.
I do not approve. I love that.
But I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, he's like, I understand. But
right. So let's talk about this concept. So if you're not familiar with the episode and you happen to be watching and listening, what is A Taste of Armageddon all about? Basically, they show up on a planet that warns them not to come, but for some reason they have to go there because this ambassador is insisting that they have to go there for some mission that's not really well explained. And once they get there, they find out that they're at war with this planet, which is their own. It's the same species. It's just a colony of this original planet and they 500 years ago, they came to war with each other, and eventually they ended the war, and they're like, we'll just play it as like in theory and like as a war game, but the casualties will be real. People will have to, instead of bombing cities, people will just die that would have died in those bombs. That way the infrastructure of the society and not everything is wiped out. And they've been doing this for centuries. Maybe let's go to Jody first. Jody, what do you think of this as a concept? Do you think it was interesting or?
Yeah, it's a great premise for like the fact that, they simulate the war and then essentially, kill off the people that were casualties. It's a neat concept. Like I have nothing wrong with the concept. I think the execution in the episode wasn't as good as it could have been, but it's a novel concept. I would definitely like to see it again. It would be really cool to see this in one of the the more newer type Treks, but not Discovery. But in some of the other ones. But it overall, I think it's a neat idea.
Go ahead and get that shot in.
Yeah, you get his Discovery
shots
shot.
Shots fired. I haven't even started on season 3 yet, so maybe I'll change. Who knows? The only thing that kind of bothered me was, and I don't know if you guys had this issue. I kind of had this issue. I'm a big Futurama fan, and I don't know if anybody else watches that, but
I know where you're going with this. I'm not as big of a fan.
and this is, and I'm pretty sure they stole some of these concepts from this stuff, but it's like the suicide booth, the same idea as having like a suicide booth where people just like go in, put a quarter in, and die. Like it's like can't even give it to them for free. Same idea. Like it's the fact that an entire population would be raised in the idea that literally if a computer says they should die, they need to die. Like that's a little off, but it's an interesting concept, and it kind of it goes a little bit deeper than I think Star Trek normally did. So it's kind of a neat episode for sure. Like I don't reject watching it or anything like that, but it's certainly one of those episodes where you're kind of like, this is a little bit deeper than I'm used to for Trek. You know what I mean? Like it's just a tiny bit harder for me, to kind of comprehend, but it's a very cool concept. I'm surprised that they came up with it, but it's really
I would say episodes like this remind me like how more similar the original series and Deep Space Nine are to each other than like Next Gen. I feel like Next Gen is more kids could watch Next Gen, and I feel like the other two are more adult geared.
Well, I think Next Gen really hit a lot of really serious stuff too, but
they did. But they have also Wesley Crusher walking around in pajamas on the bridge, so like they have, they like kids. It's more adaptable to kids. They have a lot more like Alexander.
Well, you're also dealing with you're also dealing with a ship that has family, right? Like it's all family based.
Yeah, I think Jeff's onto something with that comment, because I think but I also think that what we considered acceptable family entertainment in the 60s and subject matter in different ways was different, and like, so I think it was okay to talk about war and these things, but it was not okay to talk about sex and other things. It was kind of a weird time, it seems to be. But maybe let's go over to Adam. Adam, I don't know, did this episode, because what it struck me in terms of how it may relate to Next Generation was there was an episode of Next Generation where there was a species of people who, when they turn 60 years old, they have to die, right? Like they determined, right? Yeah. And it kind of
that's the guy from MASH, right?
David Ogden Steers was in it. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Great episode.
It was very good.
Loxania Troy was in it, but
right, and this whole idea of a society sort of volunteering for, or people in the society volunteering for death for the good of the society, right? Sort of being
Logan's Run,
another example.
I love Logan's Run.
Yeah,
Logan's Run.
Was it you, Dave, that only just recently saw it?
Yeah, just this year. Jane forced me.
And you weren't into it though, were you?
It got better once they got out of the mall. And then
for sure.
So
yeah. Right. But that's where I went right to in my mind was that episode, that movie, and the concept that you just blindly go, okay, I'm 27, time to die.
Yeah.
I think the concept was really cool. I mean, honestly, that a war could be fought like this for 500 years, and just because my street is picked, I'm done. And let's blindly go and let's do it. And just before I don't want to leave the costuming here because they remind me of Crayola crayons.
I like that. That's great.
There was something that was scratching my brain. I think it is Crayola crayon.
I was waiting to hear in the background, would you like to play a game?
Yeah, they kind of do look like crayons, don't they?
Definitely the purple ones anyway. Yeah.
Anyhow, but yes, Jody, I mean, would you like to play the war games thing? I mean, like, how does this computer decide what precinct goes or whatever they were called? It was, and really, consider that a war, until they even said that people are going to the disintegrator to be killed. It was just sort of an interesting, okay, we're going to fight a war, a virtual war, but there's real ramifications here. Nice hat, Jeff.
Thank you.
That's a toque. You're in Canada.
Yeah, it's a toque. Where I come from.
Jeff, what did you think of this concept? This whole idea of this virtual war? Is this civilized, or do Spock and Kirk's assessment of this pretty apt? Like in terms of this is kind of effed up. what you're doing here. The reason you are still at war, the reason that 3 million people are dying a year is because you guys don't face the brutality of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they also aren't like just making peace. Like they're not even attempting it after 500 years. They've solved. They've got a workaround around peace. They have a way to keep the perpetual war going without ever having needed to do the peace, and they just kind of they think it's efficient. They think it's what makes them their society run and like what their culture is. And that's why they wanted them to stay away at the beginning of the episode. And then they come, and then it's like, oh, you're dead. Like the ambassador. Can we talk about the ambassador in this episode? Because like
Yes.
Oh,
he
God.
he is like the worst, and like Scotty has to stand up to him. But then he goes to the planet. I just love when he's like, it's like, yeah, and you're gonna be put to death. He's like, wait, what? Put to death? He's like, it was the best. It was like my favorite. It was my second favorite part of the episode.
Ambassador Fox.
I'm now wondering what the
Yeah,
first
he was
part
kind of a doofus.
But why?
He said that-
He didn't die though. He lived. He made it out.
He did make it out. I mean, I wish they killed him. Would have been great.
But his aide, he had an aide who didn't speak, who beamed down with him. He got shot at one point.
That's right.
Well, he had a non-speaking part. Of course, he was going to die in Star Trek.
Right. So he may be the only casualty to speak of in this episode. If he died, I don't know. He looked like he was just hurt. But yeah, Ambassador Fox. So, okay, Ambassador Fox, who wore this very strange neckline thing, which I am going to bring up on screen in a moment. But, Dad, what was your take on Ambassador
Yeah, he had
Fox?
a weird uniform.
Yeah, he had a weird uniform.
He was kind of weird, that guy. He had a weird uniform and baggy eyes, and I never trust him. But he was like one of those guys that gets on the spaceship. Many times they've had guys on who are like commanders or ambassadors, and they boss around the Star Trek ship. You know, like what the heck? Who are you? You know, you're visiting, but they use rank. He's not the first that's done that.
Yeah, there was
No.
a scene where he basically said something along the lines of, like, your ship, your ship isn't important, basically. It's like, oh, okay.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
this is
Scotty would have none of it. Scotty would have none of it.
This guy should have just got drunk with him.
Yeah, well, this guy, like, he's part of a long running line of not admirals and ambassadors, I'd say, in Star Trek. This is a pretty common Star Trek thing, is that these higher up guys, these senior executives, if you will.
Jericho from Next Gen.
Yeah, like plenty of them. They're out of touch. They don't really know what it's like to be out here in the field, out here on the frontier, and they.
Well, with the exception of Jericho. Jericho was awesome. I stand by that, but anyway. Will Riker's a dick to him. He deserves.
You're talking about Jellicoe. I was like, who's
Jellicoe?
Jericho?
Sorry, Jellicoe. Yeah, you're right.
Get it done.
Get it
That's
done.
right. He's getting it fucking done. Ronnie
He's
Cox,
not even an admiral. He's just a captain. He's just another captain.
That's right. But he
But-
showed up and told Will Riker to shut his fucking mouth and do his job.
Yeah.
And then he told Deanna Troy, put on some fucking clothes.
Yeah, well, how about you put your uniform on, Deanna Troy, and act like a Starfleet officer?
That's right.
Hey, I
Anyway,
got get rid of the fish tank and get me some pictures on
Yeah.
the wall.
What's with
Anyway,
this fucking fish tank? I'm a captain here. Come on.
Dad? You need to know about Jellicoe. You need to look into
You would love that episode.
because Captain
One of my
Picard.
favorite
Captain
episodes.
Picard gives up his ship for 2 episodes in Next Gen, and this
Yeah.
replacement captain comes in and he drives all of his new
Oh.
staff.
No.
Pisses
No.
off everybody on the Enterprise, but realistically, if you actually look at it correctly, Jericho was right and everybody else was wrong.
Jellicoe.
Jellicoe. Whatever.
It's not.
The
Chris
fuck Ronnie
Jericho.
Cox.
Jellicoe.
wrestler.
Don't know him.
Ronnie Cox was good in 2 different things: Beverly
Ronnie
Hills Cop
Cox.
and Star Trek,
And RoboCop.
and RoboCop for sure. But he was a bad guy in RoboCop.
He's great bad guy.
But anyway,
Anyway, I digress. Yeah,
But
like
anyway.
I guess just on that theme, like I think it's a little tired. I'm a little tired of it in Star Trek, but this is early days
but
of Star Trek.
this is when it wasn't tiring.
I know, but this
I
is
agree
new
with
for
you,
me.
Dave. There's always, like, almost every season of Star Trek, there's always something like this. There's always like an admiral who's accusing somebody, or there's like,
Every
a captain
time
who
they're
shows
always
up.
they're
Yeah.
always an idiot. They're always wrong. They always give bad advice. They are out of touch.
except for Ronnie Cox.
Except for,
Dick Jones.
but he
Stand
wasn't
by
an
that.
admiral. He was neither of those things. He
I
was
don't
just
give
never
a shit.
captain.
He was in charge and he was right.
Here's my question though. You know, when you get an ambassador, because he's not even Starfleet rank,
No.
Yeah.
and the captain doesn't want to go forward. It's dangerous. Like, what happened to that? I guess an ambassador can boss them around. Like,
Well, and
Well, his term
the whole-
Starfleet has given him some sort of control over the situation, I guess, maybe.
yeah,
the,
I don't know.
the politics and the structure of the Federation and exactly how it works has never been explicitly explained. But I get the idea that an ambassador is closer to a senator or to like some kind of elected official.
Like he's got some sort of superficial power, basically.
Right. He is part of the government. And Starfleet does serve the Federation civilian government, so he does have authority. But
But with Adam, I don't think he has authority on a starship.
It seemed like he did.
that'd be like Rudy
He shouldn't be able to
Giuliani
have
going on
authority
to
when he
like
does.
a destroyer in the Navy and saying, "I can now take this over." Like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
right.
Like, even you consider Picard again, right? Going back to Picard.
You know,
and how-
in essence, like Kirk.
He's always the lead. Which one's talking, Ted?
go ahead, Ted.
And no, I'm just saying, in essence, though, Kirk did these guys a big favor by getting them, because did you see when he was near the end of the show when he was in that room and they had him, like they beat him up and then they had him, and then all of a sudden with one punch and one this and one that, he had taken over like 10 of those guys in practically by himself until Spock got there. And he goes, and Spock had a great line. He goes, I thought you might have needed my help. Right? But he took them over so easy. These guys are too soft. They're playing too many video games. They got to get tougher.
Well,
The
yeah,
eminence.
I think, yeah,
Get off
it does-
his lawn.
There was that whole scene where he visits Anan 7 in his room, and Anan's like, "Why don't you have a drink with me, Captain?" I was like, he's like, "I didn't come here to drink." He's like, "Why don't you have a drink with me, Captain?" And anyway, and then Kirk takes the drink, but he doesn't actually drink it. But then this leads to a fight, which Kirk's ready for, where he takes on like 3 of these soldiers, plus Anan 7 just kind of stands back because I guess he's the boss. And he almost beats those 3 guys, Dad. And then the one guy gets him from behind with a pistol whip.
This almost sounds like a bar story.
It
Dave was
does.
at the bar one
Then
day
they
and
took
this is
him
what he saw.
into another room.
Yeah. Right.
They took him into another room there.
Right. So what I was trying to figure out was, this is a species that for 500 years has had no actual practical warfare, but they were still pretty good fighters, considering.
Well, I don't think they really were, because if you think about the scene with Spock trying to get the gun, and he like walks up to the guy, he's like, "Oh, you got something on your shoulder," and then he goes, nerve pinch, and then he all of a sudden takes his gun, and like nobody even reacts to it. Like they're all just like, "Oh, he took his gun." I don't know. Yeah, I think the evidence is more on your side there, Dave, where I don't think they can fight.
I'd say it's sheer luck that Kirk was even bested by those 3 guys plus a non-7 in that corridor. Like, it was just the fact that one got the drop on him. I think
a power
Kirk was
numbers thing.
Kirk was about to beat all 4 of them, like, into the crowd. I don't know. Anyway.
Bananas.
What next? Okay, we talked about the ambassador. Jeff, you wanted to maybe talk about Scotty, right? Like, so Scotty's role in this episode and the fact that Kirk leaves him in command of the Enterprise. I think this is maybe one of the earlier occasions where we'll probably get into it, fun facts, but I think this is one of the earlier occasions where Scotty's actually left in charge of the ship and does a pretty good job here.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, he does a good job. He's fun to watch in the role. Like, he doesn't just buy into literally everybody leaving the Enterprise. Like Captain Kirk would never ask Scotty that. He's not like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's an order." No, he's like, "All right, put this through the voice modulator over here. Okay, 98.9% chance it's a fake. Okay, good. All right, so now we know, and now what we're gonna do about it, and then it's kind of goes the commercial, right?
Well, and when you see that scene, you see Bones reacting as well,
Right.
and you're like, well, Bones is clued in. Bones clearly knows that's not Kirk giving that order, but yet nothing happens, and then you're like, okay, well maybe he didn't then.
He knows
But,
Jim. Jim wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but DeForest Kelley was the most underused character on this entire episode.
Well, that's right. Jody, what did you think of DeForest Kelley sort of playing as advisor to Scotty, right? And then Scotty was kind of like, well, what's your idea, McCoy?
Yeah, it's like a secret bromance. It's like, this guy is the third in command in this ship. There's no fucking way he's going to ask the nurse or the doctor. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, they gave him that power for a reason. He obviously knows how to run the fucking ship. He's Scotty. He's a fucking genius, right? So, it doesn't make any sense. I didn't buy that for 1 second. I'm just like, literally, they're like, okay, well, we got to give some screen time to DeForest Kelley. So what are we going to do? Okay, he could be his little sidekick for today.
He's always a sidekick, though.
Well, he is always a sidekick. Absolutely, I agree. But it's he's not usually the sidekick to Scotty. Like Scotty usually does his own shit and he just gets it done. Like that's just the beauty of Scotty. Scotty, even through all of the original series, let's be honest, he was probably one of the most underutilized people, other than maybe a couple others. But I didn't buy it for 1 minute that's something that made sense. But it was there, and that's how sometimes television is written. And
but well, I guess another show that when they do this is Deep Space Nine, where they sometimes they'll put O'Brien in charge of the Defiant. So I'm like, but like other than that, I'm like, isn't there a command division? So their command, like, why is Scotty commanding the command center when he's the chief engineer?
Well, I think it's the submarine mentality, because if you look at how submarines are commanded, generally submarines are commanded where, obviously you have your two main officials, and then after that you have kind of a chain of command after that. But the chief engineer generally is part of that chain of command.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they kind of look at that as being kind of the baseline of it, because in submarines, literally, if you're sitting in a tube in the middle of the fucking ocean, your chief engineer might be one of the best guys to actually have running the fucking thing, because he knows everything about it, right? So I guess in a way it kind of makes sense. But I agree with you though, Jeff. Like, what's the point of having the chain of command if realistically, they got this guy who's an engineer running the show half the time? So
and I think too, it's worth mentioning that rank is sort of loose in a sense, because somebody can be in the chain of command but not be outranked. For instance, so the chain of command on the Enterprise, as I understand it, goes Kirk, Spock, then Scotty, then Sulu.
Yes,
usually.
Ops,
But despite the fact that Bones, DeForest Kelley, is a lieutenant commander, he doesn't outrank in terms of he doesn't outrank Sulu in that sense.
The doctor,
right?
He does doctor things.
We saw that more in Next Gen, right?
Yeah, but they played with it in Next Gen by putting Counselor Troy.
Well, yeah, Counselor Troy for some strange reason could run the fucking ship, which made no
Crusher,
sense.
And then Crusher became a captain.
What happened when we hit the quantum string filament? It was horrible. It was
why the hell did Crusher become a captain? That made no sense either, too.
She went up in command. She ended up getting her own command, but it was a medical vessel. So
that made more sense.
That's kind of like driving the ambulance, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Like, and let's be honest, Riker is really there so the captain doesn't go on away missions. Like, that's the whole point. Riker was utilized just for that purpose. He was the guy that went down to the planet. Well, Picard stayed there, right? So, but obviously when you're dealing with the original series, it's a little different for that. And your main actors have to be the ones that get into all the action and all the stuff, right?
A taste of Armageddon, if you will.
A taste of Armageddon, just a pinch of Armageddon.
Just a thought that just occurred to me. Before Kirk went into command division and became a captain, do you think he was like a pilot, or do you think he was like a security guard, or where do you think Kirk came from?
Pilot.
Which pilot, probably, right?
Well, he was a pilot because they've mentioned before that he can like fly shuttlecraft and all that stuff.
He was a lieutenant at one point.
Yeah,
He was a
he was a lieutenant
when he screwed up that firing out that gaseous cloud.
Right.
Yes.
Do you think he was a red shirt back then, Dad, or do you think he was a gold shirt?
I think he was a red shirt back then. Yeah.
All right.
We
Well,
might
we got
have
some
been gold shirt.
got some different opinions. Okay. So we talked about Scotty and his role, and he's pretty strong. I was really liking Scotty in this one.
Oh yeah, he's one of the best parts of the whole episode, I think.
Yeah. Two other guys I want to ask you talk about red shirts.
I loved when he stood up boxed.
Yeah, that was good.
Speaking of red shirts, this Adam, this landing party. So we mentioned that it had Kirk, it had Spock, it had this yeoman who was played by a Japanese actress, and it also had Galloway and DePaul, I believe, were the two security guards who go down. They were impressive, right? Remember when they get the jump and they take those guys when they first escape from their room, and then they steal the clothes from the crayon guys and
The crayon guys.
right.
Forever, every time I see this episode now, I'm going to think of crayons.
And it got confusing
Yeah,
for a
that
while.
was
Yeah, go ahead.
that
Ed.
was critical.
But you know what? That was
Critical that they did that because that helped them.
Go ahead, Ted.
Nope, I'm done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What season was this again? What season was this? Season 1?
First season.
One. It's near the end of season 1. Yeah.
Okay,
Right after
so
Space Speed.
yeah, right. But one of the cool, the fact is that they actually utilized the guys rather than just standing back and waiting to tell them what they're doing. They actually had names this episode, and they were acknowledged this episode. Rather than that one with the cloud a few weeks ago, which they were just sent to die.
Nameless red shirt number 1 and nameless red shirt number 2. You're in the party. Let's go.
I like when they involve the guys on the way team. You're bringing them for a reason. Let's call them by their names and use them. It was good. And to your point, Ted, they had a purpose. They solved the problem. Good to have them along. They just didn't.
And
die.
they didn't die. They didn't die.
They didn't die.
The yeoman, whatever her name was,
No.
she was annoying as hell, though.
She was.
What? Why was she annoying?
Well, if you actually watch her in all of the speaking scenes when they talk to her and then they go to talk and do something else, she's doing this the entire time. Like that. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's almost like it was her first acting gig or something. It just didn't seem appropriate for what was going on. Like, I can understand. Like,
She was told to sit on that that girl there. Sit on her. Don't let her
Oh
away.
yes. Speaking of her name in the episode is Maya 3. She's the one who greets them when they first come down to the planet, and and then she's pre-selected to die, and there's no way Kirk's gonna let a pretty girl die on his watch.
Not a blonde.
Yes. Fun fact: I knew I recognized her. I knew I recognized her from somewhere. She had previously been in the episode Plato's Step. Well, it's actually after this. It's season 3, but we've already watched it here.
Yeah, she's been around in a bunch of episodes.
She played Philana on Plato's Stepchildren, who I played that role when we did.
on the radio theater.
Yeah. But Dad, what do you think happened to Maya 3? Do you think that she ended up dying? She was really intent on dying.
She died.
No, I don't think she did. I think that they blew up all the dying booths. So I don't think she could have.
Dying booths. I love that.
Well, she could have thrown herself off a cliff if she really wanted to. But
Who was?
I guess she could have, but I think you had to go in. You had to be registered.
Who was the better villain, Anan 7 or Khan?
Khan.
Khan for sure. Yeah.
Oh, Khan.
Anan 7 was good though.
Anan 7 was actually likable. He was just. Yeah, he was likable. He just was a dick. He wasn't mean. He
Well,
was just
Khan was a dick too.
playing
but
by
I
the
liked him.
rules.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just did it for the
Yeah,
sake
Khan
of
was a dick.
doing it. It was no thought into it. It's just like, this is the way we've always done it. So why wouldn't we do it?
Right.
And they couldn't make this into a movie
Yeah.
because, like, how would Kirk scream out that name?
Anan 7!
Seven.
Khan just
Murderers, assassins.
murderers. Ow! I just hit my head on the mic.
Me a 3! No, me a 3!
Yeah, I gotta say that Anan 7 is maybe not the most memorable of the Star Trek villains.
Name wise, anyway.
Not name wise. He's okay. His performance is good.
I think he was a good villain.
Yeah, but he's not.
But
He's not.
not Khan.
Villain.
What's that?
I don't think he was a villain. I just think he was just doing what they do. Like, there was no.
Listen, if it's against what James Kirk thinks,
Yeah,
he's
he
a
wasn't
villain.
really a villain. He wasn't evil. He was just
He wasn't? He was
Okay,
like,
yeah, let's go back to that because he kind of was.
Yeah.
He tried to trick them, right? He was impersonating their voice to trick
Yes.
them all to come down to die. Now he was nice about it. That doesn't
He's
make
like
him good.
Villains.
That's literally a James Bond arch villain like premise. Yeah, move. Like, I'll get them all to come into this football stadium, and then I'll blow the football stadium up. It'll be perfect.
But I'll say please and thank you, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I was born into this.
Yeah, exactly. Bane. Yeah, it's like what Bane did.
Bane. You're like, he's kind of okay.
Well, okay, and let's talk about the crew of the USS Valiant, who apparently had visited this planet 50 years earlier, and were presumably killed by them when they showed up because they were probably attack of the war that was going on at the time, same kind of situation, and they somehow tricked the Valiant crew, or they held maybe the landing party hostage, and then took that crew. But those people are dead because of these Armenians or whatever they're called, Armenians.
Armenians, yes.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the episode was okay. I thought it got better, and I thought certain characters shined more than others. I thought Scotty really, stood out in the episode. Uhura was just there. I mean, she was just like, in the background, like, "Oh, Captain, something's coming through." That was it.
She was going to leave the show, famously, right? She was going to. She didn't think she was getting enough on the show, and she was going to leave it.
Yeah, that's what she was getting. She was getting. Scotty.
Yeah, but if you look at that, you can completely agree. Like they gave Yeoman what's her name, 20 speaking lines, and you have Uhura here, who literally is a much better actress in my opinion, clearly, and she's just sitting there on the ship, and once in a while she says something, right? Like,
her was always put like into this box, like, and it's just like they never like just let her be a part of the cast. I feel like
a little
some
bit
would
more.
say she was segregated.
Yes.
Well, I think that just like Denise Crosby was not happy with the role with what she was getting in Star Trek: The Next Generation first season. I think that similarly that Nichelle Nichols wasn't necessarily happy either, but Martin Luther King famously was the one who convinced Nichelle Nichols to stay because he thought that it was the representation was what mattered, showing that working side by side equality, and then she did get
different. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but she did get bigger. She maybe not so much in the show, but she was part of Mirror episodes that came after the first season, and definitely in the movies.
She was way more predominant in the second season than in the first, for sure. Like she's basically just a background character that once in a while talks in the first season.
Didn't Leonard Nimoy too get her a pay equity as well on the show? I heard that.
I've never.
I heard
that might be
something
true.
about that. Yeah, I don't know the deal of it, but I've heard something similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that that sometimes that's my point is sometimes you got to stick it out even if you're not.
Well, and if you compare Uhura to Denise Crosby had way more work on Next Gen than Uhura ever did in the first season.
Apparently, Denise Crosby was not happy.
She
with
was
the
in almost
snacks.
every episode. Like
Denise Crosby thought that the craft services on Next Gen was lacking.
Yes, and she went to do Pet Cemetery and never did anything else.
and Red Shoe Diaries.
Had to run back to Star Trek to do other things again and become, an ultra villain.
It would have killed her anyway because they were like Worf's better. Worf.
Well, yeah, and I didn't mind Denise Crosby's character personally. I thought it had a lot of room to grow, especially when you deal with all of her childhood stuff and all that crap. There was a lot of room to move, but I don't think they were ready for that at that point. And I think that was part of the issue as well. So she knew she was going to be sidelined by Worf and even Jody in some scenarios. So Jody was a pretty shit character in the first season. So
yeah,
he's a pilot.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk about General Order 24, please, before we?
Oh, right, of course, yeah. General Order 24. So
this is the order where the captain can kill everybody on a planet, right?
What the hell? Like, that's
it's
a big
been in
order.
2 different episodes.
Millions.
In the original series, yeah.
My God, like that. What? Whoa! This is so anti-Star Trek.
Well, and it's obviously canon, but it's there's a lot of people who complain about that. I've heard of this order before, so I've heard of people complaining about it. And actually, apparently, it was mentioned in Discovery at one point too.
Oh, did it? Okay, so we'll get into that. But 24 General Order 24. Yeah, let's talk about this because so the idea was that Kirk's held hostage, and he in the order that he says. Scotty, General Order 24 in 2 hours, before they cut off the communication, and Kirk says it, and it's pretty much verified that they were going to kill everybody on the planet, everybody,
genocide,
a genocide as a solution to this hostage situation. And would Scotty have carried the order out? It seems like yes. Right.
So if you read some of the stuff, there's actually discussions about it's that big of a deal. And so obviously Adam isn't weird to bring this up. It's literally something that many, many different people have brought up. And actually, I just read a quick thing, and one guy's like, "What I think it actually is it was a prearranged bluff between Kirk and his senior officers, and they just ran with it."
Maybe
so it was almost like a pre-done thing that there really wasn't a General Order 24. It's just something that it was a bluff.
This is like if I'm in this situation,
it's like that one episode that where they were just spewing out bullshit the entire time, and everybody's going with it, right? So it could be something.
It could be part of their training, right? To your point, if I'm in the situation, I say 24, I'll tell them that we're about to kill everybody on the planet, and then you'll back that up, right? Yeah. So it could be a scripted thing, but they don't say that, so we have to accept that it's real.
Yeah, I was when I actually understood what they were doing, I was like, this does not seem right. Right, this is not Star Trek that I know. And Jody, I like the theory because it makes me feel better.
It's not my theory. I just read this on a forum, but it's a neat way to think about it. Another guy says, maybe it's actually an order for the 24th century for pre-warp planets that they've accidentally seen the 24th century technology. There's so many different theories on this, but I personally like the one that you just said as well, Adam. That one seems to be a good one to have. It's just a bluff, but it's a bluff that all of Starfleet knows about.
Yeah.
So.
Dad, do you think he would have done it? Would Scotty have really bombed that planet?
Never. Did we lose him?
No, I think it was. I think Jody's right. It was a setup. Yeah, it was like a bluff. But
I don't think
as a gambler, you never show your hand.
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. That's from Captain Kenny Rogers.
Kenny,
he was out of range. He was Scotty. No danger at that point. That's right.
That's right. Okay, now let's. What else have we not covered? Oh, I do have a question. I have one more thing before we move to the ending here. Jody, you are our resident computer expert.
Mm-hmm.
At the end
I
here,
don't know about that, but okay.
Kirk's solution to this 500-year war between the Aminians and the other people is that I will just blow up their computer. And they go down to these 3 computers that I guess they've been using since this thing started. And it's This one does the computations for the battle. This one does the computations for us getting received, and this one does the calculations for casualties. Right? There was like 3 big computers. So I guess I kind of have 2 questions for you. First question is just like, as a science
Those
fiction,
were big computers in 1965.
Yes. Well, maybe this question
All
is
computers
also
were big computers in 1965.
yeah. We're like, was this like, obviously this advanced technology is a little inflated, right?
Well, in 1965, I think it would be. Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
23.
Nowadays, no. There's battle simulations that happen all the time in the military.
In like
That's nothing
computers that
unheard
are
of.
probably this big.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's be honest. Like
Well,
most of us
like
here
this phone.
walk around with a phone that's probably 18,000 times more powerful than the computers that they had in the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's not inconceivable for this, but like the military simulations are nothing new. That's something that's happened. They were doing mathematical simulations in Napoleon times. Like it's not unheard of to try to predict casualties and figure out where your best way of killing everybody else is, stuff like that. So it makes sense to have that.
Yeah, I
I
guess
don't know
so.
why they
Like,
need 3
did
computers
this
to be an
seem,
advanced civilization, but
when you saw this scene as a computer guy, did you go, "Oh wow,
Look,
they really thought"? No.
no. But I would honestly, like, if I was living in the 60s and seeing this the first time, I'd be like, that's amazing. Like, because I deal with massive servers and stuff like that all day, so it doesn't bother me at all. But I could see why that would be
In the
something
middle of the Cold
menacing.
War, in the 1960s.
Yeah, that'd be something menacing in in the 60s. Like, even, and obviously Adam made a reference earlier to War Games, which is still one of my favorite movies. War Games, the Whopper simulation computer, same thing, right? Like, it was this big massive fucking thing, right? And that was in the 80s. So it's a very cool thing to show, and I think that's kind of a revolutionary thing. We didn't see a lot of that stuff, I think, in 60s programming, but overall, is it a cool thing? Yeah, I think it is. I'm not personally impressed with it now, but if I was a kid in the 60s watching this episode, I'd think that would be awesome. Especially when you saw like the little screens and they were doing the simulated blasts and stuff like that, which was just like a light bulb turning on back off again. But,
I just liked Spock's methodology. He's like, if you attack this computer right here, it will destroy the whole thing.
Yeah, computers don't normally work that way when they're on some sort of subnet or anything like that, but
and there's only one.
I think there'd be some sort of redundancy built in, but
they couldn't build a new computer. Were you surprised that Kirk didn't try to talk it to death and talk it into self-destructing?
Honestly, that's the first thing I thought of. Was I'm like, is it Red Hour? When's Red Hour on this planet?
Landrew, where are you?
Landrew, and that obviously they made a callback to that in Lower Decks as well. But yeah, no, it's I think it's neat, and for 60s television, I think it's pretty cool. It's just as cool as seeing like the stuff during like Mission Impossible, where you saw like the little gadgets that didn't exist, but they showed you them, so that was kind of cool.
Right. And Adam and the panel, what do we think of the final solution here Kirk does to blow up their computers and force them to open negotiations with the other guys, whatever they're called, the aliens we never see?
Again, this is a theme that was used again in Star Trek. When you take away the technology and they have to adapt. What was the planet where everything was given to them in Next Gen? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, long and short, you're forcing a revolution or evolution on a planet after 500 years. I mean, they probably couldn't build another computer, Jody, because they didn't know how. This just did it for them.
Yeah, they've been so dumbed down by the technology that they can't do anything anymore. Yeah.
Then this
It's
is
like
a
those
prime
fat people in
directive
WALL-E.
violation.
That WALL-E movie, the family WALL-E movie, all the fat people in space that aren't doing anything anymore.
It was survival.
Yeah, like to me it's a prime directive violation as well, but they're also a spacefaring species, so I guess it's fair game. But
that's also the thing that I had a problem with this entire episode. The whole episode, I'm like, why do we care? Like, why are you even there? What's the point? What's the whole point of this fucking episode, really? Because in reality, it's just Starfleet jamming their fucking.
They didn't want to be there. That guy took them there.
Why though?
But he's obviously got command of the ship, so he must have the ability. Starfleet obviously knows about this. They know what they're doing. They know they're going there. You know.
It says that the mission, like Enterprise, is going there to open diplomatic relations, but they don't explain why.
No. Well, they don't
Why?
need to.
Yeah,
That happened a lot in Next Gen too.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No.
They usually explained it a bit though.
They're like, we have to go there because that's
You
our mission.
weren't in the need to know list.
You know, they're an important mining operation, or you know, they have a certain amount of dilithium for us available. You know, that kind of thing.
Something. There was something, but they don't. Sometimes they're more explicit in explaining these things. This time they weren't.
I guess
that's
the real
Rigel
question to you
12.
is here: what
Rigel 12.
was in it for Starfleet? What was in it for the Federation?
What was it in
We
for the
would go through all
Federation? I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly. None of us know that, right?
Only Fox knows.
Fox knows. Yeah.
You have to ask Ambassador Fox.
We'll have to ask him when he's ever on here. Jeff.
Yep.
Do you have some facts for us?
Yes, I do have some fun facts for you.
Fun facts with Jeff. There you go.
It is fun facts with Jeff. Are you excited?
I am.
Celebrate, party all night. Okay. All right. Scotty's refusal to lower the shields against orders is based on an actual story. Okay, is based on an actual story from James Doohan's military service. As a lieutenant in the Royal Canadian Artillery,
Excuse me, Jeff.
Sorry.
He would be a lieutenant.
Well,
In Canada.
All right, grammar police.
Penal alert.
Yeah,
It's actually pronunciation.
it wasn't spelled that way. He was.
I like the look on Adam's face. Adam's like, "Why are we talking about this?"
He was threatened with court-martial for saying, "No, sir, I will not," to a visiting colonel when he realized a training exercise order would entail blowing the heads off some of his own men. Fortunately, his immediate superiors backed him up, and like his fictional character, he was eventually promoted to captain. Okay.
Interesting.
Fun fact number 2. According to David Gerold, the computer tallies of war dead in this episode was a statement about Vietnam War deaths that began to register on nightly newscasts in 1967.
I knew it.
Well, they always align Star Trek with current events. Like there was always some some sort of influence with the current events.
Yeah, today it's the coronavirus casualties. Back then it was the Vietnam.
Yeah, Discovery is going to have a whole subplot of them fighting a virus on the ship or something.
Yeah. And it'll be awful, but we're not going to talk about that.
You just see you grit your teeth there, Adam. Anyway.
In his memoir, Beam Me Up, Scotty, James Doohan described Gene Lyons, who played Ambassador Robert Fox, as being out of his element and completely discombobulated during filming. He added that it took Lyons many takes to get his lines right, and that they finally went to having him speak off screen. Doohan speculates that Lyons, who was an experienced actor, may have been thrown off by the science fiction element, as such shows were relatively rare at the time.
That's the guy that played Fox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, what is this crazy?
He definitely looked like he was out of his element the whole time.
Yeah.
So
right.
I could agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
And meanwhile, crewman DePaul was played by Sean Kenny, who portrayed the injured Captain Pike in The Menagerie Part 1 and 2.
Ah, that's neat.
There you go.
Wait, that guy was the Captain Pike?
Ooh.
The guy in the beeper chair?
He portrayed the injured Captain
The
Pike.
beeper chair guy.
Gene Lyons did?
No, this guy named Sean Kenny.
One of
He
the
played crewman. He played crewman DePaul in this episode.
one of the red shirts.
Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah.
He looked kind of familiar to me. Okay, that makes more sense then.
This is the first episode to establish the United Federation of Planets as the principal service to which the Enterprise operated under. In previous episodes, vague and often conflicting references were made to the service. Such references included Space Command, Space Central, Star Service, United Earth Space Probe Agency, the latter even abbreviated as USPA, pronounced by Captain Kirk as USPA. In Star Trek Charlie X, USPA would later go on to be the principal service to which the Enterprise NX-01 operated under on Enterprise 2001, Jody's favorite show, which is set in a time when the Federation has not been firmly established.
Yep.
Think about that, Dave.
I will.
It's canon, Dave.
It's canon.
All right. Spock refers to himself in this episode as a Vulcanian rather than a Vulcan. A Vulcanian. A Vulcanian?
Vulcanian.
Well, he's referenced himself as a Vulcan many times previous to this.
A Vulcanian?
A Vulcanian. Anyway, one of
But not
very few
Vulcanian,
times in
no.
the series where the longer synonym is spoken. Also, the Enterprise's protection is called screens rather than shields. Right. I don't know why.
Well, don't take down all the screens.
Okay.
That's not the only time we've heard that, though. It's not.
No, it's not.
So William Shatner and David Opatoshu, who played Anan 7, appeared together 8 years earlier in The Brothers Karamazov as Alexei Karamazov and Captain Snegirov.
Oh yeah, that was a great
Respectively.
movie and/or TV show that I don't know, but I honestly do. Seriously,
It's from 1958. You should really check it out as a gem.
no idea what that is.
That's not a fun fact.
No,
What
not a
was
fun
the
fact
show
at all.
called?
That's a
It was-
boring fact.
It was
Don't
called.
make him say it again.
It was called The Brothers Karamazov.
Oh boy.
You know that
fun fact.
already?
It's fun facts going downhill with Jeff. Or-
In Star
know
Trek
that one.
Generations, though not heard on the screen, the name of Lacoul's counterpart was the SS Robert Fox, named for Ambassador Robert Fox from this episode.
oh,
All right, that's a fun fact.
that's a fun
Wait.
fact. Yeah, you're back. You're back, Jeff. You're
That
going
ship was
strong now.
destroyed, was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first ship.
No, you don't
That
need
was
to
destroyed
know.
by the ribbon, wasn't it?
Right. I think it was. Yeah. Good thing
Um,
Whoopi wasn't on
Gallery's
that
hot
ship.
Tonight.
Good thing Whoopi wasn't on that ship. Yeah.
When Mia 3 escorts the landing party from the beam down area to the council chamber, the transition of scenes is conveyed not through a cut or a dissolve, but through a wipe. The only time such an effect was used in the original series. Also, this is the only time anyone is able to determine where a person or a group of people will materialize.
Yeah, because they say, congratulations, you materialized right at the, Hall of Records or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah. The wipe will become Star Wars signature transition.
Right. They could never use the wipe,
Yeah.
but
This is
did
where
it
they should have
before.
kept going
Dave,
with the
why don't
wipes.
we have wipes in this show?
They
I'm
should've-
working on
they-
it. I'm
they
working on
need-
it.
they
We should
should've
have
got the
wipes.
Star Wars claimed it. So I couldn't have it.
Okay. The statue scene in Anan's room can be seen in Sam Kirk's lab in Star Trek Operation Annihilate. It is also very similar to the statue on Skalos in Star Trek Wink of an Eye. Okay.
That wasn't as fun.
No, I'm trying to find the fun one. Spock mentions the telepathic capability found among Vulcanians in Star Trek Mudd's Women. Harry Mudd referred to Spock as part Vulcanian. Spock also uses the term Vulcanian in Court Martial. Later episodes identify them as Vulcans.
He also-
we all agreed we weren't going to talk about Mudd anymore because every time we talk about Mudd, Ted starts going off about Mudd.
Harry Mudd.
Harry Mudd.
Harry
so
Mudd.
This
Gotta love
Harry
Mudd.
Mudd. This episode
Harry
was
Mudd.
was assigned to be filmed as production number
Hardcore
23.
Fenton Mud.
Imagine if there was a stripper named Harry Mudd.
Oh.
Ugh.
No, and Space Speed as production number 24. However, as problems arose with the script needed to be solved by further rewriting by Gene Kuhn, the staff switched the productions of Space Seed in this episode to switch in like reverse, so like they moved Space Seed ahead and this one back. This resulted in Space Seed being filmed first, and however, the switch was so quick they never bothered to change the production numbers. Therefore, it was believed for decades that this episode was filmed first. Clapperboard images from both episodes also confirmed that Space Speed was the first to be filmed. So there you go. There was a big controversy. There's no George Takei in this episode, guys.
It's okay.
And I think it's better for it. Okay.
Well, no, because if he was in this episode, you'd be like, "Why
No
wasn't he in
Chekhov
Space
either, is
Seed?"
there?
And then Wrath of Khan would make more sense.
Chekhov. This is first
I mean,
season,
no,
so
sorry, no,
Chekhov.
Chekhov,
Chekhov hasn't joined the cast yet.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot.
Right. The actions of the Enterprise crew seem to be violating the Federation's
no.
prime directive of non-interference, but they don't seem to care. That's
Dave
all
mentioned that. Dave was
Mhm.
right.
This prime directive. They should court-martial him.
They should. The whole cast, except for Scotty, because Scotty.
Except for Scotty. But maybe especially Scotty for disobeying orders.
Technically.
You're correct, Dave, that this is the first time Scotty's had command, and it's also the first time they've established that McCoy really isn't in charge of anything.
Go downstairs and hook up an IV, you bastard. You're not in charge.
Yeah, he's really never supposed to be there whatsoever. I mean,
What are you doing?
Well, we made a joke about that in a previous episode. It's like, or it was one of the movies, wasn't it? It's like McCoy literally keeps coming up to the bridge just to stand there, and then he leaves.
He's just Kirk's buddy. That's what he is.
Yeah, he's literally just like his bro dude. You know.
So Dave, you like all these like where they make references to older things and stuff, right? Well, listen to this one. David Apatashu, who played Anan 7, who is described by Scotty as mealy mouth. In The Outer Limits, a feasibility study from 1964, 3 years before this, David Apatashu plays a character named Ralph, who tells his wife, "Stop saying really, Ralph. It sounds like you're calling me mealy mouth." And that's it.
I didn't find that as fun as maybe Dave found it.
I don't know if I did find it fun, but thank you for sharing it with me. But it's
here comes the segue.
Hey, let's get to ratings.
That's it for fun facts.
Oh, Jeff, you got shut down for the first time, I think.
You didn't like it.
I don't know if I fully understood it. I think that was really.
But honestly, Jeff, I think you had a hard episode to work with for fun facts.
For fun facts, I like the production order thing.
There's nothing fun about a Taste of Armageddon, guys.
I think it was fun that they. Yeah, exactly. Let's go to our ratings, guys. And Dad, do you want to start?
Sure. I'll give this a good solid 7.
Let's go 7. I'm going to go right. Adam.
8. Okay.
Jody.
I was thinking 8 myself, so I'm going to go with 8 too.
All right. And Jeff.
7.5.
I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this an 8 as well.
3 8s across the board there.
Yeah. So that will average out at 7.7 among the 5 of us, which is above our average. Not as strong as last week, but last week was Spade's Seed, and so that was a pretty famous episode. Hard to match.
Hard to follow.
All right. And do we have an episode we want to watch next? I don't know. I don't remember if we had already decided this or not. But
yes, we do. Yeah,
right.
we do, Dave.
Okay, go ahead.
Called A Wolf in the Fold. A Wolf in the Fold.
And season? Do you know the season?
Season, I think 2.
Episode 14.
Yeah, season 2, episode 14.
Ooh, this looks interesting.
Wolf in the Fold. It's just Wolf in the Fold, not A Wolf in the Fold. Okay.
Okay, Wolf in the Fold.
So I just read the first line of the plot. And it says Kirk, McCoy, and Montgomery Scott of the Federation Starship Enterprise are enjoying a therapeutic shore leave.
Wait till you see
It's
this.
Ryza.
It's
a
right.
Ryza episode.
But
It's a murder mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, it appears to be. Yeah, because Scotty is detained
all right. Let's do
by
it.
an ambassador from Rigel.
Rigel.
Yeah.
There's so many Rigels. You got to remember all. You got to remember all the Rigels.
There, yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of. I think it's actually some sort of name for planet. But,
Okay. Well, we're going to be back next week to talk about Wolf in the Fold from season 2, episode 14. Looking forward to that. Also, check out all of our stuff here on Live Long and Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, leave comments, all those things. We have Tuesday nights. We do Deep Space Nine, where we watch every episode. We're in the 2nd season. It's still time to get on board. We're getting through all the bad episodes. The good ones
let me know when you're in the 3rd season, and maybe
yeah. Yeah, it's a slow build. But that's how it goes.
Slow burn.
Yeah, Wednesday nights here we have a random original series episode. Thursday nights we do Star Trek Discovery rewatches. Adam, you're a part of that panel. How are you feeling about Star Trek Discovery so far?
Gosh, it is so good, Jody. I can't even tell you. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
For you, I'm going to start watching the 3rd season.
Well,
but
you
I'm
guys
not
have-
going to go through the second season.
I will be in Sault Ste. Marie. I moved hotels to make sure I could watch it on TV tomorrow night. So
Awesome.
You
All
seriously
right.
did that?
yeah,
And you're going to the Sioux?
yes.
Oh man.
Yeah. Speaking
have
of
fun with that.
which, and on Friday night, we're going to be doing our next installment of Star Trek Radio Theater, which is going to be an episode of Deep Space Nine called, what's it called again? Apocalypse Rising, which is the 5th season premiere of that show. This is where the crew of Deep Space Nine have to infiltrate the Klingons because to kind of expose this Dominion plot. So all the Deep Space Nine guys get dressed up as Klingons. Worf is already a Klingon, and it's gonna be a lot of fun Friday night. So check that out.
Steve, if you ever do Chain of Command, I want to be Jellicoe.
You want to be Jellicoe? Okay, we might do Chain of Command. I imagine we
That's
will.
a two-parter though. That's going to be hard.
We've never done a 2-parter yet, so that is something we're yet to
I'd be a
tackle.
good Jellicoe, I think.
I think
I'm
you could pull
very-
off Jellicoe.
I'm very confident I could be Jellicoe.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then we'll be doing.
I'm going to make
Voyager.
it crack, Adam. It's going to happen.
Ronnie Cox,
Ronnie Cox.
Ronnie Cox is the man.
Dick Jones. That was
He's
his
got the
character.
best last name ever.
Remember that
Dick
Dick
Jones,
Jones
yeah.
from RoboCop? That was
Dave's like,
Yeah,
why are we talking about
I
RoboCop?
love
It's a Star Trek podcast.
It's all good. I'll talk about it, but he's a Star Trek actor. So check out all of our Live Long and podcast stuff. Check out our other channels: Trivial Debates, Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. We got other content over there you really enjoy. We just came off a Halloween episode on Trivial Debates on the weekend, so go check out all our content, and we hope you're enjoying all this. I feel bad because Dad's not on camera, so Dad, you can can wave good night, and I'll say Live Long and podcast together on behalf of all of us. Have a great one.